Hi, Jeff. Good to
Hey,
see you again.
good to see you.
So, we don't have a lot of time, so I just want to get right into the questions. I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the bike riders, what inspired you to write this story?
It was Danny Lyon's book. That was everything. It's not that I grew up around motorcycle culture. It's not that I'm a fanatic when it comes to contemporary motorcycle culture. It's that I looked at this book and what I saw in it were beautiful, romantic photographs paired with unvarnished interviews, people talking, and they sounded like real human beings. It felt like we were getting, um, honestly, all of the ingredients to show the breadth of a subculture. And that fascinated me.
Yeah, it definitely feels very grounded and real, and I think that's why the film works so well. And it looks very challenging from a filmmaking perspective as well, especially with those old motorcycles.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to ask you, what was the hardest thing when it came to prepping the film?
Uh, the most time in prep was spent talking about how to photograph motorcycles. The truth is, there have been a lot of motorcycle chase scenes and other things in films, but we wanted to feel what it felt like to ride in a pack of motorcycles, period motorcycles, with the actors, without helmets on, at speed, on a road. And you have to get through the technical challenges, the safety challenges of that. But then, how are you going to actually film it? I realized on Midnight Special, which was more or less a car chase film, that the best representation of the human experience while riding in a car is a handheld camera. Sit in the back seat and shoot a 3/4 angle from behind the driver. It's the simplest way to do it, but it actually reflects what it feels like to ride in a car, as opposed to a hard mount that's picking up the vibrations of the car. That's not the way to do it. There's a time and place for that. Usually it's in chase sequences. So we realized, well, probably if we were riding with a pack, then a handheld camera might give us the best simulation of what it feels like to ride on a bike. But how do you shoot a handheld camera off the front of a motorcycle? Well, we figured it out. We ended up using a trike with all these platforms, and we hung our camera operator off the front end of it. And that's what gave us the feel that we felt like was closest to really riding a motorcycle.
It definitely shows how much effort you put into making that feel the way it did.
Thanks.
What is your favorite scene in the film, if you're able to say?
Oh man, I've got a lot of favorite scenes, but the one that pops into my head is when Jodie Comer's character Kathy comes in to confront Tom Hardy's character Johnny, at the stoplight bar, which is kind of their hangout. And it was the first scene that Tom and Jodie really had lines together. There aren't a lot of them in the movie, to be honest. And whenever I work with two actors in a scene like that, I just ask them who wants to go first, because we have to set up the cameras for one direction. We don't shoot both. And they agreed that Jodie would go first. She came in and she sat down. And again, Tom hadn't really seen her perform yet. I had. And it was like getting shot in the chest with a shotgun. Tom actually dropped a line, which he never drops a line, because we were all just watching this incredible performance. And Jodie comes in and her character's angry, and so her lines are rapid fire. And so Tom does this thing where he slows way down. In fact, after the first take, Jodie was like, "Can you have him speed up a little bit?" I was like, just let's let the scene play out, because it's supposed to be an aggressive scene. There's supposed to be this tension between the two of them. So the faster she got, the slower he got, and it just makes her angrier and angrier and angrier. And it was a really compelling scene to watch. It cut like that.
Very interesting. Before I go, I wanted to ask you one quick question. As a writer myself, what advice do you have for writers that want to direct their own scripts?
You direct on the page. Uh, you have the benefit of time while you're writing. On a film set, you have no time. It's designed to rob it from you because it's so expensive. So if you're writing, remember that it's a visual format, and you have to connect those images in your mind, and you have to somehow represent that on the page. The only other advice I would give, because there's a lot, is that find an emotional connection to the story that you're telling. Meaning, there has to be a part in your movie that gives you goosebumps. You have to feel the hair on your arm stand up, because the process of filmmaking is such a gauntlet. To get from the beginning to the end of it, you have to have something that you can always attach yourself to, whether it's in the cruelty of pre-production, the struggle of production, or editing, or God forbid you ever have to test your film. You've got to hold very close to your heart that emotion that you're feeling, and you've got to make sure that it stays in your movie. It's the only way that you can find true north. That's my answer.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
The film's great, and I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah, man. It's nice hanging out yesterday.